Good day, everyone. You are welcome to the Oluwatoyin Ibironke Durojaiye Foundation Talk Series. My name is Dr. Lara Babajide, and today I'm going to be speaking on poverty alleviation. Poverty is when an individual cannot afford food, clothing, and shelter. So if anyone cannot afford 3 square meals in a day, I'm not talking about people who can afford it, but who just decides to diet. That's completely different. If the person does not have the food at all, there is no provision of food, it's a sign of poverty. If the person cannot afford good clothing, it's a sign of poverty. If the person cannot provide shelter for him or herself, it's a sign of poverty. So if anyone is homeless, it's an obvious sign of poverty. How do we alleviate poverty? Before we talk about alleviating poverty, we have to know what are the signs. Because I decide to dress down, let's say I choose a particular week, and for reasons best known to me, I decide to dress down that particular week. Does not necessarily mean that I'm poor. But if I cannot afford the clothing at all, then it shows that the person is poor. What are the signs? Low income. If anybody earns below the expected level of income, the person can be termed as poor. Then if person cannot afford like basic necessities, bathing soap, toothbrush, towels, cannot do laundry, just because there is no access to either a dryer or a washer, the person can be considered as poor. If a person constantly suffers from ill health and bad health and does not have the facility to consult for proper medical health, such a person can also be considered as poor. Education is the key. Honestly, anybody who is not educated may be considered as poor. You can take me up on that there are some people who are not educated and are doing fine just because they have the money to employ the educated. But at the same time, if anybody is not educated, there's still a vacuum. A good education is an exposure. It's a liberation. You can stand anywhere, you can talk anywhere, you can comment, you can criticize, you can suggest, you can move on, you can develop others. Education is very, very important. A person who is educated has a ray of hope when compared to a person who is poor and still not educated. Education allows anybody to do critical thinking. If this is not working, I can go for this. If that is not working, I can go for another thing. There's a lot of thinking with education. You can create, you can ask, you can investigate lots of things, lots and lots of things. You just have the power to forge ahead with good education. Then fear for the future. If anybody is just constantly afraid of the future, I used to tell young people that the future is in their hands. Because if you are a young person at that young age, you have the power to say who you want to be. Do you want to be educated? Do you want to be exposed? Do you want to be creative, putting things together, an engineer? Who do you want to be? At that young age, you cannot be afraid of tomorrow. I used to love to be a medical doctor, but for some reason, at some point, I couldn't get too much of, I think it was chemistry actually. So, when I learned that, I decided to be a doctor, not medical, but at least to the point of getting a PhD. It was a determination. It was what I wanted at a very young age. And I worked towards it. I worked towards it. I had my obstacles. I had my restrictions. I had my limitations. I had everything to put me off. But I put in my best to make sure that I am still a doctor. I had no fear for tomorrow. Despite my humble beginning, So you may take yourself out of the sign of being poor when you make a determination. When you decide not to be afraid of tomorrow, you must be clean. You don't have to have too many clothes. It's not all about clothing. It's all about presentation. How do you wear the clothes? Do you make sure they're well ironed? Do you make sure that everything is looking good on you? Do you have the right fit? Do you have the right size? Because there are people who are not really poor, but they've been termed as being poor only because they do not learn how to dress properly. Poor living conditions. What's the house environment? Is it dirty? Is it clean? Are there odors all around? No matter how rich anybody is, if I walk into the house of such a person and I see that the environment is smelling, the first thing I would say to myself is, there's something we call money misroad. This money was just not supposed to be for this person. Because the first sign of being rich has to do with your own appearance and your environment. Then how do you eat? Do you undereat? Do you overeat? Those are all signs of poverty. You don't go anywhere and begin to munch food as if that's going to be your last food on earth. That is not appropriate. It could be termed as a sign of poverty. You don't want to go to a party and all you're doing is packing food. It's a sign of poverty. It's a little at a time. And even if you are in a free place, there is no harm in asking for more. Or ask for more with dignity. Honestly, everybody cannot be rich. In our world today, the middle class is being erased. Although many people still struggle to want to stay in the middle class. But the world itself is collapsing the middle class. So what do? We need to help those who are poor. Everybody may not have the opportunity to live comfortably because we all come from different backgrounds. We were all raised by different parents. We all grew up in different countries. One day I was trying to write a proposal. I had to take a second master's degree and I was trying to write a proposal. And one of the questions was, tell us why we should admit you into this program. And I said, I grew up in a country where the basic necessities of life were not present. There was no safety. There was no good electricity. Without electricity, how do you expect a child to read? Growing up, I read with candles. I read with lanterns. I read with torchlight. Anything that will make me to succeed. We need to help the poor. We need to eradicate poverty, to connect socially. We need to connect. If you are high up there, try to help people who are coming under you. I know it's difficult. It's really, really difficult. For an individual, you need to boost your self-esteem. We need to help the poor to boost their self-esteem. When some people give to the poor, they want to blow it out. There's no harm. Let's take a foundation such as this. Whenever we are going to be giving out, we will need to record it. Not because we want to kind of raise praises to ourselves, only because we want to account for the money spent. But in your little corner, you don't have to blow your trumpet when you are giving. You will only do that when you need to account for the money. When we help the poor, there's less depression. Many people are depressed. There are people who have jumped into the lake, into the ocean, just because they felt okay. They couldn't go beyond that. There'll be calmness. There'll be less pains. There'll be good health. There'll be change of life and also better society. Honestly, if you say you are a rich person and you are not trying to help anybody on the road who is extremely poor or around you or somebody that is accessible to you, I wonder what type of richness you have. When you help an individual, you build a nation. Life becomes comfortable for you too. When you give that child who is struggling to go to school something, you are helping. You are building a life. You are building a lineage. You are trying to make things change. We need to take all these things into consideration when we are helping the poor. And that is why there are several foundations that aims towards helping the poor. please, whatever we can do to help the poor, let's try to do it. Let's give them what they need. Let's remove their pains. Let's give them a change of life. It is very, very important. There are several ways in which you can alleviate poverty. And one of such ways is, like I previously said, access to education, good paying jobs. Today, an average employer is just there to cheat on the employee, or they underpay their staff, no incentives, no bonuses, not even a word of gratitude. Always there's a sense of entitlement. When I hear people say they've worked for a particular organization for like 30 years, that's a lot. It's possible. Sometimes you just can't help it. But coming out of that employment, it should be with joy. What are the various programs that are put in place to help people who don't have jobs but still are not self-sustaining? There's the need to raise the minimum wage. Sometimes the minimum wage is ridiculous. I'm a citizen of 2 different countries, but from my background, the day I was told what the minimum wage is, it's so ridiculous. Very, very ridiculous. Very pathetic. Many times I think, how can somebody survive with that money? I've been forced at times to just chip in when people work for me. I want to chip in because I always feel, how do you survive with this money? I look at the work they've done, all these manual jobs, and I look at the time, the effort, the energy, and what I ask myself is, how is somebody surviving at such a low level, with such a low income? Our government should raise the minimum wage. And to you, my friends, you need to be creative. I have a friend that is always shouting, look, we can't remain at this level. And I'll share my story. I used to work as a university teacher. And while working as a university teacher, I also picked up small businesses. I was selling clothes. I came up with a small shop. I was home. And we had this liberty that you can always build a shop of your own and you can equip it. So I had one. I was selling different things, provisions, water, not because I wasn't earning as a university teacher. But when I looked at how do I sustain myself with that money, I needed to maintain my car, good clothing, make my hair. I had kids. I had relatives, many people to help. How do I survive on that income? So I started selling. I'll go to another city where I know those things are, I sell a little bit cheaper. And I'll bring them to my city, just put a little profit and sell it out. And I was selling diverse things, diverse clothes, very good clothes. I make good choices. And when I bring them, I sell them. I will sometimes sell to some of my colleagues. That's really helped. The ability to make more incomes coupled with my main income helped me to live. I wouldn't say I was rich, but I was not poor either, because I could expand beyond the scope I was. I started creating investments, like buying a piece of land. I started building. I was putting it tits and bits into the project. Those are all business ideas. Honestly, today I tell myself I wish I knew better, because I put so much into education that I did not give too much to the business side. And today that the level of poverty has really risen, I now discover that then I should have just made sure that it was 50-50, because today it is not how educated you are. That's what the society is becoming. It's not how educated you are or your level. It's about how creative you are, minus those in the medical line who everywhere they have a very high demand. For others, it's all about competition. There are people that have 3 masters, 2 PhD, and today they are still struggling. So we need to be creative. We need to have business ideas. There are also public investments. Sometimes there's a call to invest and all that. I used to buy shares, but today shares are no more shares. I don't even know what went wrong. I don't know what is happening to those shares. I hope somebody would educate me one day on either how to retrieve the money or to let me know if the money is lost completely. Economic growth. We need to continually develop economically. And it's all about investment. It's all about investing. Some people just have the basic education, but they have a good knowledge of investment. And today, they are the ones that will employ the lawyers, they will employ secretaries, they will employ administrators, they will employ almost everybody. Because they have a wealth of investment. There are several NGOs who are trying, but then how much can they do? And that is why it is important when you see an NGO, if you can help, please help. Some of them are closing up only because they are not getting the support, and only because the people who are supposed to support them are still at that lower level of poverty. Energy affordability. It's very, very important. And I believe this is what the government should do. Who should alleviate poverty? Everybody. If you make sure you take yourself out of a certain level, then you can help the next person. I'm so grateful for my life. I made up my mind that one of these days I'm going to share my story because it's not easy. The reason why many people stay at the level they are today is because they feel, the parents are not there to give too much help. The government is not there to give too much help. I cannot help myself. And so I'm not going to go to school. I'm not going to get a trade. I'm not going to learn something. I'm not going to try to develop myself. That is not true. If you put yourself out there, I don't know how long you're going to ask, but definitely there are people who would help. Even when you go to school, I was surprised one day. I did not know that international students were being given provision. So the government knew that some of these students who come as international students may not have enough money, or the school. Maybe it's organized by the school. I really don't know. But I just had it and I was surprised. So there's a bank where they can as well go pick up food. That is so great, because you are helping these people not to become nuisance. If nobody helps the poor, they will begin to steal, they will begin to kill, and who knows? Anybody can be a victim. I cannot overemphasize non-governmental organizations. Then religious organizations. Religious organization must stand up. It's not all about asking for tithe all the time. It's all about what is the church doing, or what are other religious organizations doing, the mosque. What is everybody doing to help the poor? As a church member, I have tried to, whenever I can, whenever it's laid on my heart, to give out something. It doesn't have to be extraordinary big, but when I see people in my little corner that needs my help, that needs something that I have, let's do it. Let's do it. Let the church do it. Let the mosque do it. Let everybody do it. Let everybody stand up to alleviate poverty. And we can make a society a good one. We can also have a peace of mind. We cannot exhaust those topics. Some of them we can revisit. Some of them we can have other presenters coming to talk about them. I sincerely want to thank you for listening. And thank you for supporting the Oluwatoyin Ibironke Durojaiye Foundation. God bless you.